Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Paging America, where we explore the power, profit, and politics shaping America's healthcare. I'm your host, Miles Baker. We have a special bonus episode today after the fallout of the RFK hearing in the Senate and the sort of million articles written about how absolutely mad that Senate hearing was. We have a really special guest named Yolanda Jacobs, who comes out of AFGE Local 2883, where she is the president. That is the local that covers the workers and scientists that are at the CDC. She has some incredible insights into what's really going on at the CDC, what's going on with the people at the CDC. She's here representing the union, not the CDC itself, but she is a wealth of knowledge on what's happening on the ground in Atlanta. She's a Louisiana native who's now based in Atlanta. She's an Army veteran, and she's just a total badass. And it was a real privilege for us to learn from her about what's happening at the CDC. One of the reasons why we wanted to do this interview is because there's so much ink spilled on RFK and what he says at the Senate, and some of the craziness that comes out of his mouth, some of the lies that he told the senators in the hearing, that it makes a lot of headlines. What gets a little lost in that conversation is what is happening to the institution itself and what is happening to the people that make that institution go and make the CDC run so we can have a healthier United States of America. So stick around. We're going to jump straight into that interview. It's a great interview, and we appreciate you logging in. All right, everyone, welcome back. Today, we are joined by Yolanda Jacobs, a Louisiana native and Army veteran, now based in Metro Atlanta. She is the president of AFGE Local 2883. Yolanda has been actively involved with her union since 2021, and she has worked at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention since 2004. I want to start by just saying Yolanda's here speaking in her union capacity with the AFGE Local as the president, not in her capacity as an employee of the CDC. Yolanda Jacobs, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Great. Maybe we can start for our audience, for folks who've been listening to the show for a while. People know that I used to be involved with the labor movement and have worked with it. But I think a lot of folks maybe aren't as familiar with AFGE. Could you explain a little bit what AFGE is and what role it plays at the CDC?
Yes, AFGE stands for American Federation of Government Employees. And AFGE is actually one of the largest, if not the largest, federal union in the country. It has over, I'd say, probably about 700, 800,000 employees that are represented by AFGE. And our local 2883, represents employees at the CDC in Atlanta and in Miami, Florida. And we are the largest local at CDC, representing over 2,300 members.
And you were the elected president of the local, that's
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, great. Well, so as a local president, you have conversations with folks from all walks of the union, I suspect. I'm wondering if you could describe for our audience, what's the current climate inside the local, inside the CDC for folks who belong to the union? What are people going through right now? It's been a busy week. It's been a busy couple of weeks in Atlanta.
Yes, indeed. And a lot of our people feel like they have been mentally flogged, like someone has just come in with a whip and just, basically tried to beat them into submission. It's an old saying, the beatings will continue until the morale improves. Yeah, I think that that's the course that it appears that, is being taken is, we're going to beat them until they retreat, they break, or something happens. And it's like it's an all out attack. And what sets it apart from any other attacks I've ever seen is that it's the actual leadership. It's like your boss is trying to destroy you. Your boss, berates you in the public. And my thing is always, whatever you see at the bottom is a symptom of what is at the top. So I don't know exactly what that says, that you have a boss that, like I said, demeans you and ridicules you in public, So what does that say about your boss if it starts at the top and it trickles down? And in our case, it feels like it's a flood.
Yeah.
Not just a trickle.
Hey, Yolanda, can I ask I just wanted to follow up because I talked to a fellow physician who works at the CDC, and she said like the people directly above her kind of not knowing how to instruct them on, as far as, speaking at conferences or, kind of just kind of doing their basic work that they've always done, presenting posters at conferences, things that doctors and scientists just do. It's not controversial. When you talk about leadership, are you seeing that at multiple layers of leadership, or is a lot of it from the very top and those people sort of in the middle are just sort of unsure what they should or shouldn't or can or can't do?
That is it, where the people in the middle, a lot of them are not sure what they can and cannot do. And so when it comes to even assigning work, we have employees that are terrified that someone is going to come into the office, since everyone has been forced into the office, that someone is going to pass their desk, recognize that they're not doing any work because hands are tied even with middle management, and fire them on the spot. When
Right.
again, whatever assignments that are given to employees, it comes from the leadership. That's
Yeah.
whose job it is management's job to assign work. And when management is not assigning that work, and we are seeing that since January, we went from having so much work that, a lot of times people are working after hours trying to, make sure that they stay on top of things, especially in areas where we've been historically short staffed, to now it's like twiddling their thumbs. So this whole thing about employees being lazy, we were working before this all started.
Mm.
Now it's like they don't know what work to give you. And then when work is given to you, it takes so long sometimes for there to even be a sign off on it that
Yeah.
deadlines are missed. Certain funding just does not happen. And once again, the employees are the ones being attacked for it when they're not the ones in charge.
Yeah.
It sounds
Terrible.
extremely paralyzing to work in an
Yes.
environment like that.
It's eggshells around there.
Yeah.
Everyone is on eggshells. You walk into the buildings and the whole energy in there is it's totally off. And the only happy people are the political appointees, because the employees are not happy.
So it sounds like there's a couple different things happening. There's making it difficult to actually do the day-to-day basic work of the CDC. The other thing that we're reading is that they're moving to decertify AFG at the CDC. How is AFG responding to the push for decertification, and what does a decertification push like that do to morale among folks who have the important jobs that get done at the CDC?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that the administration totally understands the difference between derecognition and decertification, that
Oh,
those are not the same thing. So while they might not be recognizing like our negotiated grievances,
yeah,
things that we negotiated in collective bargaining, we still have a right as fellow employees to represent other employees in like disciplinary actions, administrative grievances, EEO, MSPB, OPM, OSC, just disciplinary action. Just if I didn't already say disciplinary action, just to
yeah.
name a few things. So we can still be effective. And we can
Oh,
still be the voice of those employees, because federal law gives us the right to join and form unions. So we can still be that thorn in their side. The only thing is we can't sit at the table with them and negotiate some of these catastrophic things that they're implementing now.
yeah,
And that was always part of the plan. If you remove the unions, then there's no gap there. There's no one to stop you from becoming a dictator or whatever it is you wish to become. So
yeah,
we've seen like a lot of things change even for probationary employees, making it easier to get rid of them. And of course, they're coming after civil servants like myself, ways to be able to easily get rid of us with no fanfare and nothing to stop them from doing it. So they
yeah,
don't want an oversight. They don't want anything that's going to stop them from going rogue. And that's what it feels like. That's the sense that we get in the agency, is that it has gone rogue. But as far as
yeah,
the unions go, we will still be here. We will continue to do our jobs. We will still continue to adhere to our constitutions, our bylaws, the federal mandates that are there that an executive order can't just wipe away. So
yep,
we're not just going to go away because they decided to de-recognize us. And
got it.
our local has basically taken all of our resources off of government resources. So we're not using any government resources to operate. So they can't come and stop payroll deductions, because our members are not using payroll deduction. That was something that we did early
Right.
on because we saw the writing on the wall. When
Mm,
it comes to even our Teams accounts, things we use to hold meetings, we have all of that on our own platforms. We
right.
don't have any government equipment. We don't use any of their office space. So there's nothing that they can take from us.
Yolanda, this says me, it always goes back to, right, these are sort of when they set up extraordinarily adversarial situations with unions, it's always coming back to that we still have the freedom of association and we can still come together to push back. It's good to hear that the local is doing that in such an important place. Whether it's sort of freedom of expression at a university or the freedom to push back if people are peddling junk science at the CDC, I can't think of very few unions that are as important as the one that can bring the concerns of the staff of the CDC and raise it or communicate about it, because with what's happening there, it's obviously seems like they're undermining quite a few vital functions of the organization.
Yeah. And you know what? The employees have also told us that they agree with us, because we went from about 500 members at the end of 2024 to over 2,300 members over the last 6 months or so.
That's
So
great.
that right there speaks volumes.
Yes, it does.
That tells you, despite what they're saying about people being anti-union and feeling like the unions are nothing but bureaucratic systems that waste taxpayer dollars, the employees beg to differ.
Yeah, you almost 5x the size of the union in 6 months. That certainly is people voting with their feet, right?
Exactly.
That's great. That's great. Congratulations to everyone involved in that. That's people coming together. Can I maybe change the topic a little bit? This is the CDC, not just the tumult at the top, but there's a difficult shooting on August 8th. It seemed like a really challenging thing to happen inside of a challenging time. I'm wondering how folks are holding up personally, professionally after that, and what are the ramifications of an event like that?
For a lot of people, it was really confirmation, because for the longest we've been saying that especially this administration, had been placing targets on our backs. And August 18th, to us, that was confirmation that we weren't just crying wolf.
Yeah.
That because of a lot of the remarks and stuff that are being made by the administration, villainizing federal employees. And again, we go back to management assigns work. So if management assigns work, how does the employee end up being the one blamed when the science is, quote unquote, not what the administration would like to see, or whatever ideology the administration has? So where does the leadership take accountability? Where does that part? But when it comes to how employees, they are fearful. They are fearful that there is not enough safety features in place to protect them from another attack. And they feel like all this does is encourage one where they've gotten a little bit more intelligent and are less likely to repeat the mistakes of the first one who attempted. So it's fear. And then being told that by September 15th, you should have gotten over your trauma. If you haven't, we don't care. You need to come back into these offices. We don't care if you have to see these bullet holes that are still there.
Yeah.
We have some floors that are still closed. 2 people working on those floors because they have not even began to make repairs on the floors of those buildings.
Yeah.
And you're wanting employees to come back onto a campus, after such a traumatic event.
Yolanda, do you see any indication that the leadership at the political appointment level is taking steps to make the campus more safe or to protect the people who are working at the CDC?
I believe that our actual local security officers are doing what they can within their power, but I don't believe that there's much buy-in above them. I don't see that part is there.
It's too bad. So looking ahead. So in the wake of this week's news, is CDC leadership's ouster by RFK Jr. and the resignations of a lot of senior leadership at the organization. What does the CDC look like moving forward in that context? Both as it relates to the people who are working there, but then also the job that it has to do, the vital functions.
In speaking with a lot of our employees, and we have a really good relationship with a lot of employees at CDC, and the majority of them, if you talk to them, the first thing they mention is that their areas have been totally either obliterated or crippled to the point of not being effective or efficient in any way. And I only see that getting worse, because it seems like the people, when the ones with the experience leave, they're replaced with someone who has no experience, who's never worked in the public health sector in any fashion.
And are people there fearful, or have you seen evidence of people not only who haven't worked in that sector, but who are particularly unqualified, or possibly their views maybe disqualifying as those of us who just want to kind of follow science, follow data, do regular public health? Is that a fear, or has that been realized yet?
It's being realized because these people, like I said, again, have no public health experience. And matter of
Hmm.
fact, their commitment is not to public health, it is to the administration, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this a lot when I do media talking about the CDC and people in public health, and sort of I'm an emergency doc and sort of on the other side of healthcare almost. But I view most people going to public health are not people seeking glory, seeking fame, right? Miles has said it, and I think it's true. When public health works, you don't really hear about it, right? That's the goal, that you don't know what's going on, but like we're safe, bad things aren't happening. Can you speak to the employees there, or the members, or the increased members, like the motivations of folks like you and folks that you serve as the president for getting into this work in the first place?
Yeah, when it's a thankless job because like, for instance, I started at the agency in 2004. When I retire, the only people that will really know of me are those people who I've worked with over the years that might still be there. They'll see my picture, but there'll be no fanfare on the way out. So we don't do this for the glory, because I look at our memorial page every day that I log into work. I look at the memorial and the retirement. And one day, it hit me that even when we're on the retirements page, eventually one day we'll make it to the memorial page. And that'll be the extent of, people knowing us, and when it comes to our work at CDC. So it's never for the fanfare.
Yeah.
Right. Appreciate that.
What did maybe as we're sort of coming to an end here, what advice would you want to give to colleagues who are struggling right now? If you had to sort of give advice to the folks who are working at the CDC, who are part of the local, what advice would you have for them and for the people who are not in the local, who are supportive of the CDC employees? Any advice for us?
One thing that we continue to tell employees is to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And in preparing for the worst, we let them know that, you've got an army with Local 2883. And we are recruiting. Joining us, helps. The more you have in the fight, the more powerful you become. And again, that's why they wanted to get rid of unions in the first place, because they recognize that power when workers take back their autonomy and say, I'm not going to let you continue to walk on me and ask me how it feels. I'm going to do something different. And at the same time, we've got employees that are walking out the doors because they're just not going to play the game anymore. We're there for the long haul. As a union, we are there for the long haul. So like we always have open slots for volunteers.
That's
and
great.
all of us are volunteers. So
yeah. And Yolanda, if people outside of the union wanted to support the union, is there a place they can go to learn more?
Yes, they can go to our website at afge2883ga.org.
Great. And for folks listening, we'll throw that in the show notes if you want to click on it. Yolanda Jacobs, any last words before we go?
We've all been through some tough times. I have a feeling that this is going to be a little bit more tougher before it gets any better. But, there is an end to things. There's always an end to things. And I'm looking forward to that part of it. In the meantime, we'll just keep efforting toward it. That's what we're going to do.
Glad you're there.
That's
holding
great.
down the fort, because I always talk about it's hard to turn these things back on and get back to normal, but to know that you and the folks in your local are there just kind of holding things down, I guess gives me hope that can happen, when better times come along.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you know what? We've got some great people. Matter of fact, people that the agency discarded in these reduction in forces, a lot of them are still volunteering with the union, and a lot of them have that public health experience that the agency is now lacking, because those were the people who knew the work.
Great.
That's great.
All right. I think we'll leave it there for folks. Just one more time, check it out in the show notes if you want to learn more, and head over to AFGE's website. Yolanda, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being in the fight. And thank you to all of the AFGE union members. Keep it up. We're rooting for you. We're rooting for you all, not from inside the union, but from outside. Yep.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that interview. I know I did. I learned a lot. having that conversation with Yolanda last Friday. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm going to read us out real quick. Today's episode is written by Dr. Rob Davidson and me, Miles Baker. Was produced by Amelia Dillon Schneider and Darian Badigan. Our music is by Annette Somerset at Dune Flower Productions. If you're listening to this, you're pissed off, you're a physician, please come to www.committeetoprotect.org, where you can join the organization, the Committee to Protect Healthcare. And if you enjoyed today's show, please leave us a rating on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And just as a reminder, if you do want to help out the union and you're interested in supporting the workers and the people that are working with Yolanda, you can find the website she mentioned in the show notes. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Talk to you soon.